Bad Brothers, baby.
Face breakdown.
We are the Bad Brothers, and welcome to the Babyface Breakdown. I am Big Bubba Brogdon.
I'm Boosh Dingo, the Luchador.
And, just normal, average, everyday wrestling podcast that's definitely not trying to go up to the high ranks and that people will definitely watch for future episodes.
Well, how you doing?
It's been a shaky week, but it's been good. You know, I've still had wrestling to fall back on and watch.
Yeah, that's it's always a good thing, man. Always a good thing. And then luckily, we live in a time where there's so much of it. It's almost too much at times, just to kind of keep up with it all. But yeah, it's a pretty good week for wrestling for most. I guess most of us. There are some. I guess we'll jump right in. You had R-Truth. He had a nasty fall on
NXT.
He seems like he's doing okay though. I don't think he really had any major injuries. Nothing serious. Unless you saw something I didn't see there, but
I think it was just a bad fall on his part. I think he didn't really. It was either Waller was too close to the edge, or he didn't launch himself far enough.
Yeah, it looked like he didn't get enough, kind of air, because it looked like he come down and hit the back of his head on the ring a little bit, which it seemed to be. I thought when I first saw it that was going to be what the injury was, but it seemed like he hurt his leg. The head injury, didn't really seem to be anything there.
Well, it definitely was noticed that he'll be out with his neck injury, but I can see that too, his leg injury that he got in the match.
Okay, yeah. Did you see Natalia got her nose broken?
No, I didn't.
Yeah. Shayna Baszler. Man, it was a pretty nasty spot. It was after the match. The match was already over. Shayna Baszler won, which she. Throughout the match, there were a few instances where I legit thought, that Natalia was hurt. Like Shayna seemed to be working pretty stiff. The match ended, and Ronda Rousey had been in her corner the whole time. And so when they were finishing up, about to walk away, Ronda Rousey grabbed Shayna Baszler and kind of whispered in her ear and told her to go back and punish, Natalia some more. So she gave her a running knee. Immediately, you could tell something was wrong. Because Natalia sells well, but she doesn't sell that well. But yeah, blood, all over her face. Pretty quickly. So yeah, she's I believe got a broken nose from that. And then as well, Logan Paul, he tore his meniscus, his MCL, and his ACL, which is unfortunate for him because I was really starting to enjoy the guy. Not really a huge fan of his personality per se or his character. But his ring work, from what I've seen, has been pretty impressive, for somebody who just jumped into the business. And I will say the match that he had with Roman Reigns, I never thought I would say this, but that match was match of the night for me. It was
definitely one of the better matches.
Yeah, it was pretty enjoyable. I think a close second would be the OC. Versus Judgment Day. I really enjoyed that match. And I guess, did you see that I think it was Michael Cole name dropped Bullet Club?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we're just inching closer and closer
to that.
Right. To your prediction, being true.
The handle is jiggling, but it hasn't yet been pushed open.
Right. But yeah, that was that was a shock to hear that. I did a double take. I had to like wait.
Wait, did he say Bullet Club?
Yeah, did I just imagine that? Because WWE is notorious for really not acknowledging anything that happens outside of the WWE universe. If it didn't happen there, it didn't happen. So that was particularly interesting to see or hear them name drop Bullet Club on a WWE pay-per-view.
Yeah, it was definitely something. One thing I do want to say is I did enjoy the wrestling in the Logan Paul Roman Reigns match.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I just hate the guys. I just hate the Paul brothers.
Yeah.
Just them, even before WWE, all that. Logan has become more of a I don't dislike him as much. I dislike him, but I just don't dislike him as much because he's grown up. He's understood.
Right. I don't know much. I don't know much about either of the guys. I know that they're YouTube celebrities. I know so that Logan had a boxing match with Lloyd Floyd Mayweather, excuse me, and he lasted 8 rounds, which is pretty impressive. And then I think the other Paul brother just defeated Anderson Silva in an MMA fight. That's also impressive.
Well, it wasn't it was a boxing match, but
was it boxing?
It was boxing.
Okay, still impressive. So I admittedly don't know much about the guys. What little bit I've seen as far as within WWE, as far as like promos, character work, etc. I wouldn't say that I'm a fan, of Logan Paul, but I watched that match and found myself halfway through it, saying this is already better than any of the other matches that I've watched on that pay-per-view. So yeah,
it was definitely a good pay-per-view. I don't think it has what Stephanie McMahon had told us at the conference, though. She said that this will be a night to remember.
No, I mean there's very little that I will probably remember from it. I think I will remember the Logan Paul Reigns match for a little while, just because it was enjoyable, and I think both of those guys, impressed me. They showed me something. I really think that, I think you sent me the Logan Paul selfie video of him doing the
selfie and then frog splash onto the table with Roman.
Right. That was very cool. Seeing it from his, cell phone perspective. That and he pulled it off quite well. I'll probably remember that for some time as well. Those are probably the only like good things that I will remember. I don't know how you felt about it, but the Bayley Bianca Belair match was one of the worst matches.
That
I probably ever
seen. Golf cart before using it.
Yeah, it was rough, man, and I think I'll probably remember that for some time. The golf cart spot, from Bayley being on top of the golf cart and going down the ramp and stopping in front of the table, and then it maybe would have been worthwhile had they actually been successful with the spot, but they pull I think Bayley off the top of the golf cart. She was supposed to go through the table and she missed. Bianca Belair picking up the steel steps and like really struggling to get them up over her head, and then when she finally managed to get it up over her head, she almost dropped it on her own head.
Yeah,
it was kind of hard to watch. The finish, I didn't particularly enjoy. Pinning Bayley in the ladder underneath the ropes, her struggle to get free, and that's how the match ended. It just, I don't know, that one fell really, really flat to me and was kind of hard to watch. the rest of the event was okay to good. You know,
Okay to good.
Okay to good. You know, there were some good matches in there, some okay matches in there. I was surprised that I enjoyed the Omos Braun Strowman match as much as I did.
I like that match too.
I don't typically go for big guys like that, especially when it's big guy versus big guy. You know, it's one thing to have kind of a David and Goliath scenario, or have another guy in the ring who can do, you know, a different style, because the big man kind of a big man powerhouse, you know, style just doesn't really do a lot for me. So I almost skipped it, but I'm glad that I didn't. I was curious to see how Braun was going to do. That's the first match that I've watched of his since coming back to WWE, and yeah, it ended up being a pretty enjoyable match. The Lesnar Lashley match was kind of on the boring side to me. It wasn't what I would say, you know, I wouldn't call it bad. Brock Lesnar matches though are pretty predictable. You know, you know what you're getting from a Brock Lesnar match, and it just it was kind of boring. But yeah, the rest of the event was fairly good.
I don't agree with the whole thing with what is it? Alexa Bliss and Asuka dropping the titles like a week after they won them.
It's pretty quick. I've seen some speculation that Bliss is going to realign with Bray Wyatt, and that's possibly why she, you know, had to let those titles go. I think the Alexa Bliss, you know, Fiend gimmick association kind of run its course, and I think it'd be good to not do that. But yeah, that match was okay. I put that in the okay category. Yeah. Judgment Day was fairly entertaining. I don't know if you caught Dominic doing the Eddie Guerrero shuffle in the ring. Some more of that good heel work that I thought you might appreciate.
I really hate the guy. He's got me. I hate the guy.
I mean, that's his job, I believe. So he's at least, you know, doing his job well.
And the thing is, I've seen him in person. I've seen how small he is. I could think I can even squash him like a little twig.
He's
I want to squash him like a little twig.
Right. He's not in the Marco Stunt category.
Don't.
Yeah. We already touched on that. We won't go there. We touched on
that last episode. We don't need to talk about that again.
But yeah, that was a good match. It's cool to see the OC back together again.
Surprised that they lost.
I kind of am, but I'm kind of not. I think they're kind of, WWE's kind of big on Judgment Day and has some things planned there, and I think I think Dominic Mysterio and that whole situation's getting a little bit more attention and buzz. Whether it's, you know, positive or negative doesn't really matter. It's got people talking, so I think they're gonna probably keep that going for a little while.
I actually have an unpopular opinion.
What's that?
Or popular opinion, I don't know, but I think this is probably going to be an unpopular opinion. I think Judgment Day is Retribution, but done right.
Yeah, I could see the correlation there. Yeah,
because they always talk about how many chances have been given away from them, how much they're underappreciated in the wrestling world. I'm like, wait a minute, this sounds just a lot like Retribution.
Yeah. Which, I mean, I'm sure that kind of angle has been recycled multiple times, you know. I mean, I think you kind of have that with what's the faction of Saturn, Benoit, Malenko, when those guys first, you know, transitioned from WCW to WWE. They kind of played into that angle a little bit. But yeah, it was interesting that Sami Zayn wasn't able to attend the Saudi being in Saudi Arabia.
Well, that's because of his
Heritage.
that's because of his heritage.
Right.
And because of religious beliefs. That's the same reason why MVP wasn't allowed.
Yeah. I think MVP a little bit more for religious reasons. I think MVP used to be a Muslim and has
And he's an atheist.
Right.
About death in their country.
Yeah. So it was. I noticed. It took me a minute to kind of land on the MVP reasoning. I noticed that he wasn't there, but I was kind of wondering like, why is he not there? Sami Zayn though, yeah, I knew he wasn't going before the show even started.
And everyone wanted Sammy. There was a lot of Sammy chants.
Sammy chants. There were Sammy signs in the audience. It's a weird situation, man. It's a weird situation. I don't really know how I feel about them doing the Saudi Arabia gigs. When you've got people who can't attend because they might be executed, and then the women situation, they have to dress very, very modestly, which my wife appreciates that. But yeah, it's just a weird kind of scenario. I think I'm starting to kind of get used to the 3D graphics. It's I don't think they should maybe do it as much. I think I saw like this past week on SmackDown they were doing the graphics. I'd maybe reserve that for pay-per-views. But it's gotten a little bit better than when they first introduced, the 3D stuff. It was cool seeing them like use drones for the event.
They've always kind of used drones in WWE and AEW and all that. I've never liked the 3D, the holograms, all that stuff.
I definitely wasn't with it to begin with. Like I said, it's kind of growing on me, at least from watching this event, and I think it's because the actual graphics that they were using. Previously it was kind of corny, like the design work behind it was kind of corny and cheesy. But some of the design stuff that they did this go around was actually kind of cool. They did a graphic for Bobby Lashley that I thought was pretty cool. It's like him in the sky, clouds in the background, and it said Almighty above the picture of him, and then it kind of disappeared, when he came out and made his entrance. I thought that was pretty cool. It's a pretty cool design. But some of it, I guess the Brutes.
Wrong Brutes. Sheamus's game.
When they did the graphic before their match, that was kind of cheesy. I wasn't a fan of just the design work there. But yeah, I'm still not big on it. I take it or leave it. I'd leave it. But
when you talk about Brutes, they had a good match. Dude, whenever Pete Dunne, Butch, whatever his name is, gets in the ring, it's usually a good match.
That was a good match. I mean, the Usos are an excellent tag team as well. They're really good. So yeah, I enjoyed that match as well.
Yeah. Do you think the Usos are going to lose the titles on Friday?
Who are they facing?
New Day.
Is it New Day? How close are they to?
I think a week or two away.
Okay, so that's probably why they have them booked. Going up against New Day, because New Day are the record holders, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's at least interesting to see what happens there. The New Day, since I've kind of come back and started paying attention, the New Day seems to have lost a lot of steam from where they were, when I was watching previously. So I don't know, the bloodline and the Usos, the Ucey thing, all that seems to be really hot right now. So I would be surprised if they ended up, dropping the titles to New Day.
Well, it could set up Big E's return because I think he's like recovered now.
Really?
It's been nearly 6 months, 7 months.
I'm not entirely sure. I wasn't really watching when that happened. I remember hearing about it because it was a pretty rough injury.
Oh
yeah, I used to be a big fan of the New Day, and I still like them. Part of me though really feels like Big E, deserves a bit of a solo run. I'm not.
He was given.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily saying disband the group. You can keep them together, but I would maybe, since we're doing the brand splits and you've got the SmackDown roster and the Raw roster, I would maybe divide them that way. Just have Big E go to a different roster, and give him a little bit of a singles run. I think Big E's got potential. He's main event material. Whereas as much as I like Xavier and Kofi, I don't see that in them. And we did the Kofi experiment not too long ago, and that really
love that.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan. I wasn't a fan of Kofi.
Really?
Yeah, didn't work for me.
I like the Kofi Mania stuff. That was an interesting time.
Didn't put butts in the seats. Not at least not my butt.
It put my butt in the seat.
Well, fair enough. We'll have to agree to disagree on that one.
I do have to say though, just give Xavier a mid-card title run.
Yeah, I think of the three, Xavier's probably the one who's gotten the short end of the stick.
Yeah, he's either been a manager or he's been a tag team champion or King of the Ring. He's won King of the Ring.
Yeah, King of the Ring doesn't really seem to mean much these days, though.
It doesn't.
No, it's almost. I mean, you're almost saddled with that. Like it's not necessarily a good thing to win King of the Ring.
Well, unless you can pull off the gimmick.
And very few people have successfully been able to do that. You've had King Booker.
That one was good.
Yeah, he did that fairly well. And going
Barrett.
back. Yeah, King Barrett, he managed to make it work. It was he had to take some time to really get there. I really liked the Bad News Barrett gimmick, and so kind of transitioning from that to the King Barrett was a little difficult for me. But he eventually made it work. But really, I was about to say King Barrett. I don't know of a King of the Ring winner since King Barrett that worked for me. It all just felt kind of, I don't know, kind of corny, kind of cheesy, kind of like it just wasn't working with the person that was trying to get it over.
King Corbin was the last one that it works for me. King Corbin, as I even have the King Corbin figure still in the box, but King Corbin, just the attire looks so good. And the way he presented himself as King looked great. Even his downfall from King was great.
Well, I've never been a Corbin fan. I kind of wanted to like him in the beginning, when he had the long hair and I mean, yeah, he's he had a good finisher. He's got some pretty nice tattoo work. So had a good look, but yeah, just. I don't know. I kind of soured on the guy. I don't dislike him or anything, but I just lost interest. I did kind of, I wasn't watching, but I had heard about his, the gimmick where he had, had his wife leave him and he lost his house and he went into all this debt. And
I love that gimmick.
Yeah, and that was, that piqued my interest and got me to kind of put eyes on him again. And
I will never forget bum ass Baron Corbin.
Yeah, that was somewhat entertaining. It reminded me ever so slightly, and I hate to even make the comparison, but of the Raven, what about me? Kind of woe is me, always, poor, pitiful, pathetic me, kind of gimmick. So I don't know. I that was mildly entertaining.
Talk about gimmicks. What's your favorite gimmick that that wrestlers do, heel or face?
So like one that's been kind of recycled through and used
Yeah,
over
but
and over.
you don't get tired of.
Huh. Well, it's definitely not the superhero gimmick. You can lose that. I don't know. I mean, I kind of enjoy the heel foreigner gimmick, as crazy as that might sound, but Rusev, when he was doing the Russian heel, and they had kind of had the USA champ going against Rusev, and I don't know, I like that. It reminds me of
Cena and
old school.
Rusev feud.
Say it again.
Cena versus Rusev feuds.
Oh yeah. It was good. I mean, like I said, it reminds me of being a kid. It's old. It's back when I was a kid, there was tons of foreign heel gimmicks, from Yokozuna to
It's a Cena versus Rusev reminds me of Sheik versus Hogan.
yeah, and even Sergeant Slaughter has been on both sides of that, kind of as the American hero, as a babyface. But then when he aligned with General Adnan and changed his allegiance to a foreign, and started crapping all over America, Bret Hart, even when he had his heel turn and was talking down on America and talking up Canada and the family values and just decency, and it works for me. I think that would probably be one of my favorite gimmicks, and I know a lot of people think that gimmick is tired and played out and boring and I don't know, just kind of simple, but why complicate things, man? It works, and it's tried and true and tested. So yeah, I'm a fan of that. I don't know what would be yours.
My favorite gimmick that's, I guess, maybe underused sometimes. It's the loser gimmick.
Yeah.
The wrestlers that lose constantly, either complain about it or do their best, but they keep losing.
So what's it? It was Brian Myers.
Brian Myers. Yeah.
Yeah. I know his last run. I know his last run in WWE, he had like a huge amount of losses. He was on a losing streak.
It wasn't until he was with Zack Ryder at WrestleMania.
Yeah. That's an interesting. I mean, I think I remember hearing or reading something about Kurt Hawkins asking for that gimmick, like he wanted to do that, which is that's kind of odd. And like you said, it's a little underutilized. It's probably not you don't really see that, at least where they draw attention to it.
Even early Brandon Cutler in AEW had that gimmick.
Yeah, he doesn't seem to wrestle much anymore. He seems to just be the lackey with the camera.
He wrestles dark matches.
No, I don't watch dark.
I rarely watch dark.
Yeah.
But the loser gimmick. The reason why I feel like it works is because if you go on a long enough losing streak and you can turn from heel to face to heel to face, and then that feeling, the whole crowd sees that either that face winning. You usually need to end it on a face to be a good gimmick.
Yeah.
But when that face wins that match.
Right. I mean, it works both ways though. You have that heel win that first match, against somebody that's hot, a babyface that people like at least. That can generate even more heat and kind of propel you onto a nice little heel run. So yeah, it's probably an underutilized gimmick that isn't done enough. I think it's a good call.
But I think it's a good thing that's not done enough, because if it's been overdone, then you get tired of it.
Oh, of course.
I think right now they're using that gimmick a little bit with Serpentico in AEW.
Yeah, I'm a big Serpentico fan, man. I've watched that guy on the Indies for years, and yeah, it's kind of frustrating because I know he can do more. He can put on a good match, but I think he's in like a coaching position backstage, if I'm not mistaken.
Maybe.
Yeah, I think I read that somewhere that he has a little bit of a role backstage in that, because the guy's, I mean, he's been wrestling for some time. He's been around. But yeah, every time I see him come out, man, it just kind of, it's like, all right, now brace myself because he's about to lose. I think they had him get squashed against Keith Lee. Yeah, most recently, and that
he got a good shot, and then he was like, crap, and then he gets power bombed, and that's it.
Well, I mean, Serpentico plays that role pretty well. I think, I mentioned I've seen him on the Indies, for years. Seen him quite a few times. He's always a heel. I've never seen him work as a face.
Really?
Never seen him work as a face. He's always a bad guy.
He always, to me, he looks like a face.
Yeah, in the promotion that I saw him in, man, he could generate some serious heat. He's part of a faction with I've mentioned before, Mecha Wolf, who's in NWA now. They're Puerto Rican, wrestlers, and there's a couple other guys that were part of a faction. And man, they would have people throwing glass bottles, throwing food at the ring. The first couple of times I went to some shows there, they would have meet and greets after the shows, and I was always disappointed because, that group, I was a big Mecha Wolf fan, and I like Serpentico and those other guys, but they never did meet and greets after the show. And I talked to the promoter one time and kind of asked, like, why? How come they never do meet and greets? And he's like, man, they get too much heat. Like there are people who wait around, outside the venue to try and start fights with them. That's how good, of bad guys
they are at their stuff.
Yeah. And it's particularly interesting. I've been to a few wrestling shows, in this modern era, where people have been kicked out, been arrested for attacking wrestlers. And it's just, I get that back in the 80s, 90s, and even, prior, when the majority of people weren't in on the
scripted part of the whole thing, like
right. But in the modern era, like you
kind of
yeah, and it's fun to watch, though. I will admit, definitely enjoy seeing somebody get kicked out of a wrestling show for trying to fight a wrestler, because it's always a guy or a girl that, like, if they actually were to fight this wrestler, they would just get creamed. It's like, what are you thinking? It's like, it's a good thing that security got to you before you got to them.
My last memory of a fan attack was Seth Rollins.
Yeah, it still happens sometimes in WWE, but when I see stuff like that happen on WWE, I think that those guys who are jumping the barricade, I think they're just wanting to get a little bit of attention, some TV time, like, yeah, I was that guy that jumped over the rail. I don't think that they legit want to get their hands on said wrestler and hurt them. I think they know that security is going to get them and boot them out, and then they'll have a moment that they can, point to and say, yeah, that's me.
Well, you have the Seth Rollins incident, and then you have the Bret Hart incident.
Yeah.
So the Seth Rollins incident, his defense was someone by Seth Rollins' account, like a duplicate account or something, was talking mad crap to him, was threatening him, was saying all this crap.
Okay.
Right. So
you know more about that than I do. I didn't hear any of the supposed backstory there.
So I think the charges were I don't know if the charges were dropped or if they kept going. But I do know that is a different alternative to the Bret Hart incident at the Hall of Fame. That guy purely wanted attention.
Yeah. I think more often than not, when you're doing that at a big show, it's just seeking attention, and it's a moment that they know is being televised. They're going to have that clip, forever that they can point to and say, yeah, that was me. I was that guy.
I was watching that happened, and my dad and I saw it, and he was just like in shock. He was like, "Oh my God, I can't believe they jumped this old guy."
Yeah. Well, yeah. It's crazy stuff. So yeah, did you get to catch anything outside of WWE this week?
Not really, no. Other than Cassidy's defense against what's the guy's name that just debuted?
Shibata?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not even going to try to pronounce his first name because I would probably butcher it. But yeah,
like you butchered God, I'm not even going to say it right.
Floyd Mayweather?
Baszler.
Yep. Baszler.
Baszler, not Basler.
Whatever.
I was like, are you okay today?
Well, I haven't been paying WWE much attention since she's been around, and I'm not really a big fan. So, and I've told you before, a lot of times when I watch wrestling, I don't watch it with commentary. So I'm just kind of, yeah.
Dude, at least watch Pat McAfee commentary.
Yeah, he's not around anymore, man.
Well, he's doing stuff for, was it NFL?
Yeah, but I read recently that he's coming back, I think, next year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, yeah, I've heard good things about him. I'm not familiar with him, but I've heard good things that he's supposedly a pretty good,
you
commentator.
need to listen to his commentary during matches that he's been commentating for.
Yeah.
It's hilarious.
Okay. Well, yeah, I'll keep that in mind. And I sometimes do listen to commentary. It's not an always thing, but a lot of times I don't, and I got a kid, man, and a lot of times when I'm watching wrestling, he's making noise and causing mayhem, so it's hard to really catch everything. But yeah, Baszler, I even still probably won't get it right because I don't care. But yeah, the Shibata losing to Orange Cassidy, that that's a travesty. I feel bad for Shibata.
If it wasn't a title match, I believe AEW would book it differently.
Yeah, it's we got into the Orange Cassidy stuff last week, and yeah, if you're watching and you are interested to know how I feel about Orange Cassidy, you just watch episode 3. You'll know. We're not going to rehash it, but yeah, felt bad for poor Shibata there. I will say that I think the Superman or the Orange Punch, the finisher, that spot was pretty cool the way they did that. So, but yeah, the Dynamite, I guess Jeff Jarrett.
That was surprising as well.
Yeah. Did you see like how that fully went down?
No, not really. I only saw clips. I didn't get to watch Dynamite live.
Yeah. So there's a I guess, a factory guy named Cole Carter. He came out first in the middle of the match dressed as Sting. The trench coat. He was wearing a mask, though, one of those plastic Sting masks. So it was pretty obvious from the jump that it wasn't actually Sting. However, I think it still works because he came out and attacked Darby Allin. And if you're Darby Allin, you're in the middle of the match, you turn around and there's this guy that, resembles Sting attacking you. You're not really doing the math on, well, that's a mask. It's not fake. This is not actually Sting, So I could see Darby thinking, that was actually Sting that attacked him. So he aligns with Jay Lethal and his crew, removes the mask, and honestly, I'm not familiar with Cole Carter, so he removed the mask, and it was kind of a dud because it was like, okay, who is this guy? I don't know who this is. And they leave the ring. Darby's attention is set on them, and that's when Jeff Jarrett hops the rail and comes up behind Darby Allin and smashes him in the head with the guitar. So it was a pretty cool way of handling that. A little bit of a swerve there, but yeah, then Jeff Jarrett cut a promo, basically putting everybody on notice, talking about the Jarrett name, the Jarrett family, and how they've been around for since the 1940s or 50s in wrestling. And
Jarrett has been around the 1940s.
Yeah, well, he even made a remark about how anywhere that Jarretts go, they make an impact. And I think that was an obvious, kind of dig at TNA, or at least a reference to TNA. But yeah, that was pretty cool. I think that Jeff Jarrett's going to be doing something behind the scenes. I can't remember his official job title.
Maybe CEO?
No, it's not CEO. It's something about like brand development.
And we still have Khan as the CEO.
Yep.
Great. We talked about this a few weeks ago, how we don't like Tony Khan being in charge of everything.
Yeah, well, I mean, if this is at least maybe a good sign that he's it's Director of Business Development is Jeff Jarrett's official role.
That's a job?
Yeah, I think it has something to do with I think AEW's looking to put on shows outside of the U.S. I think they're wanting to take it globally. And I know Jeff Jarrett was instrumental in working a deal with the big promotion in India for Impact or TNA.
Wasn't Khan the one to say that they don't need to go out of the country to keep them relevant?
I don't know. I'm not familiar with that, but I mean, growth.
Khan posted something about WWE doing Saudi Arabia events.
Mm-hmm.
Take a big shot at that. Be kind of hypocritical.
I could see that. I wasn't aware of Khan saying that, and I could see how that might be hypocritical. But at the same time, it is a business, and your aspirations of running any business should be to grow it as large as you can grow it. So, and I think Khan and AEW, they definitely see themselves as taking on WWE. They want to be competition for WWE. So with WWE being global and putting on shows all over the world, it only makes sense, I think. Khan maybe needs to stay off of Twitter and keep his mouth shut more often than not.
Twitter needs to stay off Twitter.
Yeah. I'm not on.
Need to exist.
Yeah, never been a fan. Too many people with a voice that they think people care to hear. That's probably social media in general, though.
Well, they like to hear themselves.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah. Let's see, they did a. Have you seen? I guess last week they did a little video package on Dynamite about the Elite. It was just a video package showing the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega kind of disappearing from past footage and clips. This week they ran another similar video, but it was someone sitting in a production room working a computer, and they were pulling up like key matches in AEW history that involved those three, and they were watching snippets for a minute, and then they were deleting the files, and they were disappearing from the kind of the history of AEW. So that's weird. I don't know really what to make of those.
Maybe it's the way of saying the Elite are done with being all elite.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to know until they take it further, and we see what happens.
Actually, talk about it.
Yeah, but it's enough to pique my interest. I'm now curious to see what's going to happen there. So yeah, they also ran a video package for House of Black.
I did.
Yeah, that was pretty dark and pretty pretty interesting. Seems like they are kind of setting it up for them to be able to I guess take a little bit more time off, and then come back maybe a bit stronger than they were when they left.
More people in their faction.
Yeah.
Enough to where they can get all the titles that they need: trios, tag, women's, TBS, team. God.
But yeah, maybe
even titles.
Yeah, they do. I think all of wrestling has too many titles, though. It loses its, the title loses its kind of specialness when everybody that comes out has one. I get that they're different titles, but you watch an episode of one of these shows, and like when almost every person that comes to the ring has a title, it just, I don't know, it kind of cheapens it. It's not as special when everybody's got one.
Yeah, I get that. I like a good champion, but not every match needs to be a champion feud.
Oh, of course. More often than not, some of the better matches and some of the better feuds that I enjoy from the past have nothing to do with championship belts or titles.
Those are usually
when you've got the title. Say it again.
Those are usually the best matches. Yeah,
because they have more substance. When you've got a title, you don't really need a reason to fight other than, they're fighting for the title. A lot of times when there's not a title involved, you have to have some reason that these guys, are feuding and want to get at each other so badly, So it typically is a much more interesting storyline. But yeah, that was maybe I think that was about it for AEW this week.
Other than what was it? I think it's Brian Cage going to face Samoa Joe.
Yeah, there was I think they had the embassy come out, and they all attacked Joe, and then Wardlow came out and cleared the ring. So they're kind of aligning Wardlow and Samoa Joe against the embassy.
But then Hobbs came out and put Wardlow down. So
okay, was that on Rampage?
I think that was on Rampage or Dynamite.
Okay.
I feel like this is something that I predicted. I felt like Hobbs should have a TNT title run, just like Wardlow has.
Yeah, Hobbs is impressive for a big guy. He's good. I kind of miss Team Taz. I think they were a pretty good faction. I think Hobbs deserves more, and we still might see him get a little bit more. I think the way that they've handled Hook has been pretty good. He's hot. People like him, and he's good. He's a good kid. Ricky Starks. I think he's been probably one of the most mismanaged talents on the entire roster.
In the AEW Championship tournament.
Yeah, and hopefully they take him, take him to the end of that, at least. But yeah, Ricky Starks is money, man. He's talent, and he deserves more than what he's gotten since he's been there. So I know he had the injury, which set him back a little bit, but still, I think he can be a superstar.
Yeah, but the question is, if Starks wins, who will he face at Winter is Coming?
Yeah, I mean that's a good question. We'll have to see how that goes. I don't know that I have faith that they're gonna pull the plug on Starks and take him all the way to the main event, but we'll see.
Yeah, because we have a few matches for Full Gear coming up on November 19th, that Saturday.
Yeah.
So, and they all look very well made and very well put together. Of course, the main event being Moxley versus MJF. Yeah,
and that should be a really good match. I'd be surprised if it weren't.
Oh, I would too. I'd be surprised if that didn't work. I think I also saw a Ring of Honor Championship match announced.
Oh yeah. I'm glad that you brought that up because I forgot about the Jericho Open Challenge this week.
Colt Cabana.
I did not expect him to be the guy. It's kind of frustrating. Tony Khan announcing the surprises before the surprises happen. I really, really wish that he wouldn't do that. I get it. You want to let people know that something special is going to happen on your program so that they tune in. It's a ratings ploy. But I mean, my view on that is just put on a good show that people want to tune into.
Right.
And you don't have to do that. But even the commentary team, when you start watching, the beginning of the episode, if you know what's going to happen, you can hear them kind of giving things away. The Jeff Jarrett surprise was something that they mentioned on commentary at least twice prior in the show. They didn't mention him by name, but the way that they talked and said things about what was coming up in that match and kind of the build to it, and I already knew that Jeff Jarrett was going to debut. So when I picked up on some of those, hints that they were dropping, it made it fairly obvious. No, I don't think that you necessarily, would have known if you were watching live who the surprise was going to be. But it let you know that somebody was going to pop up and it was going to be, basically a debut of somebody that was going to interfere in the match. Which, just let it happen, man. Let it be a genuine surprise. But the announcement of, Jericho has an open challenge and it's going to be a mystery former Ring of Honor champion. I didn't necessarily expect it to be a debut, but I did expect it to be somebody that we hadn't seen in some time. And Cabana never crossed my mind. probably the reason for that is I'm not a big Cabana fan. He's not somebody that jumps out at me. I was hoping for Christopher Daniels. That's who I wanted to see, just because Christopher Daniels is great. Jericho is great. Seeing, Christopher Daniels versus Chris Jericho, yeah, sign me up. Colt Cabana, however, that's a channel changer, man, for me. I did watch the match though. It was okay. It wasn't great. There was a spot where Cabana dropped Jericho and they both tumbled out of the ring. You call that a botch. I know Chris Jericho hates that term. So sorry, Chris.
He does not like it.
Yeah. So apologies, Chris, but that was a botch, man. And I think it was a Colt Cabana botch. It didn't seem like Jericho's fault. It seemed like Cabana's the one that kind of screwed the pooch on that. But yeah, it is what it was. I'm glad it's out of the way, and
I'm just glad that Colt Cabana is no longer aligned with Dark Order.
Yeah, that was. I mean, the Dark Order has had some weird associations. I think Adam Page, Colt Cabana.
Adam Page being one of the weirdest. Yeah.
Yeah, those they just seemed out of place and didn't really fit to me. I don't know. Dark Order seems like they're kind of winding down. I don't know if they're going to be really carrying the Dark Order thing on for too much longer. It seems like they might.
I don't think Dark Order is going to be in AEW for much longer.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like they're almost kind of disbanding the group. It's shrinking in numbers. They're not Adam Page, Colt Cabana, Anna Jay. They recently let Alan Angels go. I think Stu Grayson was let go.
Stu Grayson came back.
He did come back. I don't know the details there, though. I don't know if he's back full time. I don't know if that was a one-off, but I did see Stu Grayson return, which I'm happy about. I like Stu Grayson. Evil Uno. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Stu Grayson and Evil Uno prior to AEW, but they were a tag team called the Super Smash Brothers. They did good work, man. They're a good team, good guys. But yeah. Speaking, I guess, of Dark Order and Alan Angels, you said you didn't watch anything, outside of WWE this week, but on this week's episode of Impact, yeah, are you familiar with Violent by Design?
Yes, and their debut of Khan and
Alan Angels, which Alan Angels had been in Impact for a few weeks now, but they had two new guys join Violent by Design, and it was a surprise reveal, and it ended up being Alan Angels and Big Con, who is Connor from
which is one of my favorite tag teams that was underused.
Oh yeah, man, it's a travesty what happened to those guys on the main roster. They were so good in NXT.
They were.
Yep.
And then the Ringo feud just killed them.
Yep.
Friendship.
I thought it was cool too that for the longest time, people would mention Legion of Doom whenever they would talk about the Ascension. There was something to the Ascension that just kind of reminded you of Legion of Doom, and then WWE aligned Paul Ellering, with the Ascension, and that just made it even more on the nose that that's what they were going for.
Yeah, he did that with the Ascension and Authors of Pain.
Yeah.
Which I don't know why they had to let him go from the Authors of Pain.
Yeah, and that's another Authors of Pain, man. I thought those guys were going to be big, like on the main roster. I thought they were going to do really well on the main roster, and they didn't.
Something you need to say in NXT. NXT needs to be stopped seeing as a developmental phase.
Yeah.
But some people need to stay in NXT because they're great in NXT.
Yeah. There's so many, man. We could sit here the rest of the night naming people who were great in NXT, but were less than great on the main roster, and it's obviously no fault of those particular wrestlers. I think one of the biggest ones probably is
Neville.
Yeah, Neville, Shinsuke Nakamura. Nakamura was great in NXT, and I since his main roster, call up, I've not enjoyed any of his work.
Bobby Roode.
Yeah, the glorious Bobby Roode.
I missed that.
But yeah, it's pretty cool to see Connor pop up in Impact, and Joe Doring was absent. He used to be in Violent by Design, but he was recently diagnosed with brain cancer. I don't know if you heard about that. Yeah, so that's they kind of had to regroup a little bit. They pulled Violent by Design. They weren't really doing as much with them as a group for a little while, and then they started teaming with some new members.
That group as well.
Say it again.
W. Morrissey leaving the group as well.
Oh, was Morrissey aligned with them?
Yeah, Morrissey was aligned with them.
Okay, yeah, I must have missed that.
Yeah, I think Morrissey won the tag titles with them, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, yeah, there was. I moved recently, and there was a little while where I didn't have the time to really tune into Impact. So, and I didn't recap. I just jumped right back in. So there is a little gap of things that I missed there, but we and we know what happened with Morrissey. He's in AEW now, so I think Alan Angels and Connor is probably a safer bet for the group. I don't think those guys are jumping ship anytime soon, so they're a good fit, I think.
Yeah.
So, I like Eric Young and Diener and Violent by Design. They're a pretty good group.
I hate that Eric Young was one of those guys that we just talked about with NXT and how they were pulled the main roster. I'm just so mad that he was underutilized.
Yeah, Sanity, man. That was a great faction.
I don't have any of the Sanity figures, and I'm upset.
I've got Eric Young. He was the main one that I had to make sure that I got my hands on. I never had an opportunity to grab any of the other figures from that group. I just didn't come across them, and I'm not a big online shopper. So, and speaking of which, Nikki Cross on, I believe it was Monday Night Raw. Did you get to catch that? She definitely seems to be going back to that Sanity gimmick a little bit. Yeah. I pretty happy about that. I like that. So, they put her in a match against Bianca Belair, which is her first match since the gimmick change. Which good for her. Belair's the champion. So, but I knew going into it she wasn't going to win. But she did not lose clean. She got a distraction from the outside, so that Belair could get the win over her. So I was happy that at least if she was going to lose, that it wasn't a strictly clean. Right. But yeah, there's that made me very happy to see. So hopefully we get more of that. Yeah, more Bray Wyatt stuff with the Uncle Howdy.
I still think I'd go Dallas.
Yeah, I can see it. The voice of the Uncle Howdy character almost sounds like Bray Wyatt himself, but it does sound a little bit different.
Similar. Dallas can sound like Bray, mainly because they're brothers, but also because he's kind of done the gimmick before.
Yeah. Yeah, I hope it is Bo Dallas, man. I was a big Bo Dallas fan. That's another guy, who was in NXT and got over with me, and I enjoyed the Bo Leave, motivational character, and just did not really transition well to the main roster. Speaking of that, I meant to ask you as well. Are you familiar with Joe Hendry over at Impact?
Maybe a better known name?
Let's see. I'm not. I don't know that I'm familiar with him prior to Impact. He has a similar kind of gimmick to the Bo Dallas gimmick. He's like a motivational speaker. Yeah, his real name is Joe Hendry. So
I'm looking at him right now. He looks like that. He looks like that guy. He looks like that guy that just be like, no, I'll tell you about this and this and this and how you can be better at this and this.
I mean, I'll admit the first time or two I saw him, I wasn't so sure about him, but I'm starting to believe in Joe Hendry, and that's his kind of thing, is I believe in Joe Hendry.
He kind of looks like the PC coach from South Park.
Yeah, I can see that.
The guy that's very PC about everything.
Yep.
Say his name and he appears.
Yeah.
I believe in Joe Hendry.
All right, so of all the news, I forgot to ask, NWA, anything with the NWA? I never watch it. Is there anything?
Sorry, man. I was jamming Joe Hendry's theme song for a moment. I don't think there is anything. I didn't watch any NWA this week. I did not see any NWA news. So I don't really have anything on NWA this week. I don't know if there's really anything of note that happened this past week.
Well, I guess that's all the news that we have for today then.
Yeah. As far as I can recall, I will. One other thing that I wanted to touch on. Monday Night Raw, Austin Theory versus Seth Rollins. Did you catch any of that?
I did, and I very much like Seth Rollins' blonde hair.
Yeah, and the match was
also good. Yes.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
I like Austin Theory, but Theory wasn't as D-baggy as he usually is.
Yeah. I mean, that's you're gonna come around.
Beard too. I think Theory looks better with a beard than he does with a baby face.
Oh, I agree. It's a good look for him. But yeah, that was an excellent match, man. I really enjoyed it. The like somersault, like tumble blockbuster move that he did on Rollins was nice. So yeah, man. Yeah, I'm gonna convert you to be an Austin Theory fan. It's gonna happen.
I was at one point, but I don't think I ever will be again.
I'm gonna get you there, but
unless he can fully drop that selfie gimmick.
Yeah. Did you enjoy?
Be ruthless and aggressive.
Did you enjoy the Tyler Breeze gimmick when he would take selfies?
Yes, I did enjoy that one. That was because I could believe it.
Okay. So it's you're not wholly against selfies. It's just when Austin Theory does it.
Austin Theory is too. I will agree. Austin Theory is too entertaining when he doesn't do it. I loved him when he was in NXT, playing the dumb character with Gargano and all that. I liked that. That was good. Theory with Rollins and that. I liked that. That was good.
Right.
I do not like selfie Theory.
Okay. Well, it's a gimmick that I think probably will run its course, and he'll probably move on to something else and kind of evolve the character. I mean, man, youngest United States champion, youngest Money in the Bank winner. Like, he's a kid. He's got some growing to do.
Isn't he just 22?
He's 24.
Oh, 24. Well, that runs him out of youngest WWE champion.
Yeah, who is the youngest?
Randy Orton, I think. Either Randy Orton or Brock Lesnar.
Okay.
I think at 22.
Yeah, that's young.
Randy Orton was the youngest WWE champion at the age of 22.
That's impressive. It's impressive.
It is. And we do have a youngest tag team champion in history.
Yeah, who was that? Oh, Nicholas.
Yeah.
I try to forget all about that, man.
Until I brought it up.
Oh yeah. That's a blemish.
What happened to that kid?
He's one of the ref's sons. It was just a one-off type thing. I'm gonna throw the kid a bone. I don't understand it, man. I'm not even gonna pretend like I remotely understand what they were thinking there. But yeah, I think he's the son of one of the like longtime refs.
He is. So, he is.
Yeah.
I just see a picture now.
Yeah, apparently, they owed that ref a favor or something. Maybe he's the guy that had the goods on Vince or something.
Maybe. Maybe. I want to see a current picture, but there's nothing showing up. Everything is like from 2019. So.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine with wrestling fans being wrestling fans, that kid would probably have a hard time making it on social media. So I wouldn't expect to come across a Facebook page or anything like that until He
used to have a Twitter page. I used to follow him on Twitter when I had a Twitter.
Well, he probably had to delete that from all the hate that he got after that match.
That doesn't ever feel like right with me, is hating on a kid. Me hating on Dominic.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I tend to direct more of the ire towards the people who actually made that happen. The adults who thought that was a good idea. Yeah, that's more on them than it is on him. He's a kid, so I'm not going to give him much flack. If I were in his position as a kid, I would have totally done it and thought that it was the coolest thing ever. So you can't really fault, the kid for doing it and being a part of it.
You can't. Well.
So yeah, you got anything else, man?
Not really. I was trying to think of a little fun idea, but I never got one. So I guess no fun idea for this episode.
Yeah. So I did just recall a little bit of NWA news. Nothing big or huge or anything, I guess. But Nick Aldis, I think, is not renewing his contract. So that's a big loss for NWA because Nick Aldis is pretty great. But he's so great, in fact, that I've often wondered why he is not with WWE or AEW or one of the bigger companies. So maybe this is about to happen for him, man. Maybe we're about to see some Nick Aldis on a larger stage.
Maybe. I need to go watch some indie shows.
Yeah.
In these next couple weeks, I've been meaning to go up to Gadsden.
Yeah.
Get the car fixed good enough to go up there for a day or a night or something like that. Go up there. There's a professional wrestling promotion. Or go to Atlanta and watch them.
Well, yeah, definitely let me know as long as you give me a good heads up, I might be able to tag along. I will vouch for Mucha Lucha Atlanta. They had a show recently. I think I sent you just some of the people that were on that show. And they have good production. They put on great shows. I'd like to catch some stuff there. I think Impact is actually doing their next. Maybe it's not the next pay-per-view, but it's the pay-per-view after that. They have a pay-per-view coming up soon that they're doing in Atlanta at Center Stage. So I don't know if you've ever been to Center Stage. It's a pretty small, interesting venue. It was actually, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, NXT did their first on the road show out of when they left Florida and kind of took it on the road. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the first show that they did was at Center Stage in Atlanta, and I was fortunate enough to be there, and that was a pretty cool show. But Center Stage is a good venue. It's small, fairly intimate. But yeah, that Impact, pay-per-view, being at Center Stage, that would be a good one to try and attend.
Yeah, I've been meaning to go to Spartan Championship Wrestling up in Gadsden, usually in the Gadsden Mall, because I talked to one of the commentators / managers of a superstar / kind of the owner, Scott Resner.
Okay.
Yeah, so I've been talking to him recently, and I've been meaning to go up there and just watch the show, because I've watched early shows that they've done under a different name, VCW. So I've just been meaning to go up there and watch some matches, because honestly, it's the best time when I go to indie shows.
Oh, I love it, man. I would recommend to anyone out there who's a wrestling fan and just watches on TV and has never actually been to a show, to get to a show as quickly as you can. And it doesn't even matter, if it's WWE, if it's some indie promotion, just go to a local wrestling show, because that is the way to see it.
Listen, to anyone out there watching, recorded, live, I don't care. Going to a WWE show, from my opinion, and where I've been, WWE versus indie, if you go to a WWE show, you're there to see your favorites. You're there to cheer them on. You're there to be with the crowd. You go to an indie show, you're just there to have fun. You can do whatever you want. You can hackle the wrestler all you want.
Yeah, I've enjoyed some WWE shows that I've been to. WWE is a bit larger scale, I prefer the indie shows, the smaller, more intimate shows. So I would take an indie show where there's nobody on the card that I've ever heard of, probably over a WWE show any day. Now, I've been to some good WWE shows, and surprisingly enough, the WWE house shows tend to be a little bit more enjoyable for me. I've been to Raw, I've been to Survivor Series, I've been to some of the bigger WWE events, and unless you're shelling out some big bucks to be ringside, or at least fairly close to ringside, it gets a bit difficult to really see what's going on. It's still fun, being in the atmosphere, being there with the crowd, doing the chants. But yeah, the smaller shows, man, I like to be able to watch and see what's going on. So yeah, go check out your local indie wrestling promotion. They'll appreciate it, and you'll have a great time, no doubt.
And hey, tickets are not usually hundreds of dollars like WWE.
Oh yeah. 10, 12, 15, 20 bucks, for
usually doesn't go over that. So
yeah, for really good seats, so that's not way up in the nose. It's a lot of times that's, second, third row, Yeah, even front row. I think Mucha Lucha Atlanta, unless they've gone up on their prices, I believe their front row seats are like $55. But they have, I think the biggest show that they had was 1,300 people in attendance, unless they've had a bigger show, in the past couple of years since I haven't been going. But Yeah, they typically draw a pretty big crowd. But yeah,
Barton Championship Wrestling, their front rows are either $25 to $30.
yeah. I've seen wrestling shows in Montgomery, Alabama, Pell City, Columbus, Georgia, Atlanta, Norcross. You know, all a good time, man. I've never been to a wrestling show and had a bad time.
Yeah, no, me neither. I can't think of I can't think of a wrestling show I've gone to and I haven't had a ball. I've had always a great time. Even if the matches were weak, I always had a good time seeing my favorites. Or if I go to an indie show, I always have fun just going bananas, doing whatever I want.
Yeah. Cheering the baby faces, booing the heels. Yeah. Doing a little Ric Flair woo, when you get
Every
the chest
shot.
out. Yeah. It's always a good time. So yeah, that's the way that wrestling, should be enjoyed though. It's definitely a interactive sport, probably more so than any other professional sport. Yeah, that's the way to do it, man. Go to a show.
Well, if you don't have anything else to touch on,
No, I think that's all I got, man. Yeah. Well, I'm sure, no doubt, there'll be some stuff that goes on over this next coming week. We'll watch Raw.
I think this will be interesting.
Yeah. We'll watch, Dynamite.
I'm gonna try and catch Rampage, Dynamite, even some Dark. Dark's kind of underrated. I like some Dark matches that they do, especially when they bring in indie guys to try and do tryouts.
Yeah, I've seen some of those. Again, going to indie shows, I've seen a lot of like indie talent that I know from local promotions that have popped up on Dark, and I've watched some of their matches just because I am familiar with them and kind of have a little bit more of a vested interest there. But I've never really made it through a whole episode of Dark. But yeah, I'm gonna watch Raw. I'm gonna watch Rampage and Dynamite. I'm gonna watch Impact. I'll probably skim SmackDown. And then
I'll watch NXT as long as Quincy Elliott doesn't come on screen.
Yeah, I'm still not back on board with NXT, but we'll see, man. We'll see. I'm keeping my eyes on them.
No. Think that's gonna do it for us tonight.
Yeah. Well, yeah. We'll see you guys next week. Same time. And yeah, give us a subscribe on the YouTube channel. You can look up the Bad Brothers Babyface Breakdown and find us there.
We have an additional channel. We're trying to get subscribers so that we do these videos on there and even have edited videos. I think you have episode 3 edited first.
Yeah. Episode 3 is up and running. We have an Instagram as well. Find us on there and give us a follow. See some clips from the show on there throughout the week. And yeah, we'll see you guys next week. This is Boosh Dingo, the Lucha Dork, signing off.
And I'm Big Bubba Brogdon, the co-host that just doesn't know when to stop talking.
The co-host with the most.
Yep, sure. We'll go with that. We'll end on that, and that Austin Theory sucks.
You'll come around.
I don't think I will.
So tune in next time to see if Big Bubba Brogdon comes around to Austin Theory.
He will have to go through major character change.
That's going to be our overarching story for the series. Tune in each week to see how closer.
See if I'm either straying further away or closer to Theory.
Right. All right, guys. Well, you be safe, and we'll see you next week.
All right.